So, yes, let's recap
Synopsis.
on Job. That the angels are coming to God for their daily report, and one day the devil decides to join in, and God says, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Well, I've been going back and forth on the earth and looking for people to tempt." And to Job's misfortune, God says, "Well, have you considered him?" And the devil says, "Oh, I'll make him bright." And so he goes and kills all his children, takes away all of his possessions all in one fell swoop. And um, as all that is being reported to him, this has happened, his wife kindly comes out and says, "Just admit what you did and die." Um, and
Well, she wasn't even included in his belongings.
right.
Yeah. His kids were included. Everybody was included, but the wife.
So it is interesting that the devil doesn't kill the wife. So it makes you wonder.
Her.
As I say, it makes you wonder what kind of relationship that really was there. Uh,
Like, oh, I won't remove her. No, she's doing a good job there. I'm just gonna leave that there.
so Job goes out and begins his morning, tears off everything. Oh, and by the way, he has, terrible sores like leprosy and things like that. So he goes out and sits in the dunghill, tears his clothes, all those good things. Um, and then his three good friends come join him. Um, and after mourning with him for about a week or so, um, his first friend Eliphaz comes out and says, if God did all this to you, it must have been because you did something horrible and bad." By the way, need to mention, prior to all that, as part of his possessions, Job is described as righteous and good and basically the best man on the face of the planet. So his friend comes out and says, "You must have done something terrible to cause this. It's all your fault." Which is, again, that great compassion by his friend.
Yeah.
So um, that's kind of where we um, uh, pick up. After all that, Job now in chapter 6 is going to reply to his good friend. Um, so we will start with chapter 6.
So that just the oh no, so let's see, 6. There, this is it's really it's worth to read, Max, just to catch up with it. But
Yeah, you can read through 1 through 5 on your own. Um, we did the condensed version just now. But Job answered and said, "I wish there were someone who would weigh the wrath upon me, and at the same time lift up my griefs on a scale. For indeed they would be heavier than the sand of the seashore. But as it seems, my words are worthless. For the arrows of the Lord are in my body, whose anger drinks my blood. For when I begin to speak, they pierce me." So Job is expressing here that he feels like he's been condemned, basically. He feels unjustly treated and misunderstood. Um, we do not complain when things are good. We complain when things are bad. And so he's sitting here saying he's complaining. Um, What then will the wild donkey bray for no reason if he is not seeking food, or will the ox moo at the manger when it has fodder? Again, we complain only when there's something wrong. Will bread be eaten without salt, or is there any taste in empty words? My soul cannot stop groaning, for I see my food to be like the smell of a lion. He feels no satisfaction in life, is what that kind of is. That food's tasteless. There's nothing good about life any longer. Um, would that my request would come about, and the Lord would grant my hope. Let the Lord begin and wound me, but let him not utterly destroy me. May the grave be my city upon the walls which I have leaped. I will not turn away from it, for I have not lied about the holy words of my God. Um, so, despite being maligned, he does not defend himself. And, remember his friend was telling him, you must have done something terrible. He doesn't actually come out and say, no, no, I actually haven't done anything bad. Um, what strength do I have that I should continue, or how long would my soul endure? And the fathers say that his strength is spiritual, not physical. His spiritual strength is waning now. Is my strength the strength of stones, or is my flesh made of bronze, or have I not trusted in him, but help is far from me? Uh, Mercy has rejected me, and the visitation of the Lord has disregarded me. Remember, again, heaven being like the presence of God. Hell is the absence of God, right? So, uh, my relatives pay no attention to me. They pass me by like a wave, or as though I were a failing brook. Those who once reverenced me now look upon me like snow or frozen ice. For when it melts at the approach of the heat, it is no longer recognized for what it was. Um, and so, uh, like Christ, Job is abandoned. He's been forsaken by everyone. Thus I have been forsaken by all, but I am also lost and homeless. Look at the ways of Temanites, you who mark the paths of Sabians. Those who put their trust in cities and wealth will be debtors to shame. But you have also come to me without mercy, that seeing my wound, you were afraid. What have I ever made any demand of you? Or do I need your strength to deliver me from my enemies or to rescue me from the hand of the mighty? uh, Teach me, and I will keep quiet. Tell me wherein I have erred. But as it seems, the words of a true man are worthless, for I do not ask strength of you. So here Job is open to evidence of his wrongdoing. If I've done something wrong, I'll listen to it. Neither will you rebuke your rebuke cause me to cease my words, nor will I endure the sound of your word. Nevertheless, nevertheless, you attack the orphan and you jump on your friend. Now, therefore, after I looked on your faces, I will not lie. Sit down now, and may there be no wrongdoing, and come together again with a righteous man. There is no wrongdoing in my tongue, or does not my throat cultivate understanding? Um, Basically, he's saying that the truth matters. Eliphaz is acting not like no friend. Job is not being harsh with his criticism of his friends. He's just saying you're treating me poorly. You know, um, you're supposed to be a friend, and this is how you're uh, speaking of to me.
Did the footnotes say that Christ is the scale? Um, and that he came to weigh the merit of our life and brought down with him both justice and loving kindness together. So how do you get to that? How do you get to that 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 this says and at the same time lift up my griefs on a scale? How did the the
Editors,
editors or the whoever
they're probably also referencing the works of the fathers. I mean, what I have here is only a handful of
yeah
them. So they're likely referencing the some of the fathers who speak about the interpretation of these things. But yeah, any other comments or questions on Job's response? I always wondered why it was pronounced Job and not Job, as it looks. And in the Greek, it's it transliterated Jove. So the long O, which okay, that makes sense then. So
No, no.
Job, yeah. So okay. Chapter 7. Is not the life of man on earth an ordeal? Is not his life also like the life of a hired man working by the day? So wages of our reward is heaven. So yes, life is an ordeal. Can be a great one for some people. Um, but we work all our life, and our wages are not things of this world, they're the things of heaven. Or like a servant who fears his master, or like one who grasps for a shadow, or like a hired man who eagerly looks for his wages. So I have been enduring months of futility, and agonizing nights have been appointed for me. So apparently there's been some time since all these things have happened. Um, when I lie down, I say, when will it be day? When I arise, I say, when will it be evening? I am full of pains from evening to morning. My body is covered with loathsome worms, and I am wasting away as I scrape off clods of dust from my eruption. Life is fleeting, it's shorter every day. I was talking to somebody about that, every day we live, our life gets shorter.
Yeah.
And as the older we get, the closer we get to that. But none of us know when the end will come. I mean, I could be hit going home tonight. Um, so but every day we live is one day shorter. My life is lighter than speech and perishes with an empty hope. Remember then, my life is a breath, and my eye will no longer return to see good. The eye of him who sees me will not see me again. Your eyes are on me. I am no more. The eye of the Lord is upon him, but he does not pity him. Um, when I was growing up in Modesto, the original church, where uh, we used to have the Ancient of Days, now we have the Hospitality of Abraham, was about the size of that icon that's in there now, a big triangle with a large eye in it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's how they want that. A lot of the church.
Yes,
What's the significance of that?
the eye of God watching everybody.
So on our
The
dollar
triangle,
bill,
the trilogy.
or rather,
Yes. Uh,
that's what that's supposed to stand for?
well, I'm not sure about that on that one. That's probably more.
It's like a pyramid
That's probably has more to do
design.
with masonry
Yeah.
than than anything else on the dollar bill.
Now don't throw away all your.
Still,
Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar.
Yeah,
um,
it's like, we pray I think it's during the pre-sanctifieds for a evening without or a sleep without, it not doesn't say demons, but without fearful dreams
right.
and he must have just had an agonizing nights have been appointed to me
Yes. Yeah.
because you fall asleep and then you wake up from these scary dreams and then you're like, is it ever going to be morning? And then the morning comes and it's no better.
Right.
give him a toothache. A toothache could break anybody.
That's true.
So, um, so anyway, the eyes. We want God to be looking upon us, but we want to have Him look upon us with tender eye. I think that's also in the pre-sanctified liturgy. We want him to look on us with a tender eye. I am like the cloud that cleared away from the sky. For if a man goes down to Hades, he shall not come up again. He shall not return to his own house, nor shall his place know him any more. In eternal punishment, we are forgotten. We've talked about that in various ways. The rich man Lazarus, other things. Now, of course, as this is being written and spoken about, everybody who died went to Hades because the path to heaven, Christ had not been opened yet. Um, so,
Wait, how'd that work though? You do a sacrifice, their sins are cleansed.
No, that's not what the psalm says. The psalm says God, let's see, what psalm was that? 48 or 49? No, I was reading it the other day. God said, do you think I care about the sheeps and the bulls and all?
right,
And he says, if I'm hungry, I'm not going to tell you because it's all mine already. And basically, if you think a sacrifice is going to get points with God, he says, absolutely, it's not.
right. Not interested in.
Then what was the point of all the sacrifice? supposed to do it for sins.
Well, it's not to, I think the point is you do it
Like,
in,
just don't stick
in,
his life and then
you,
Hades just doesn't suck quite as much.
The
Like,
sacrifices aren't for God; they're for us.
yeah, well, I get that, but so I don't get to go to
but
heaven at all, but I just don't hate life as much in hell. You know what? There's no pathway.
I don't think I think it's like it's what are the reasons that you do the sacrifices? Do you do them, tit for tat? And that's not the way it works.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
You have to
in
be
regards to
faithful.
Jewish, I mean, in regards to Jewish law and all that, uh, when I'm under the going to go with the scenario of the assumption that the person is doing it faithfully, and so going like perfect scenario, and yeah, man, you're still going down to the basement first.
But this is the point of the Old Testament could not save.
See, and this is in Psalm 49.
Yeah.
And I don't know much except this just happened to be the one I read yesterday. It says, "Hear, O my people, and I will speak to you, O Israel, and I will testify against you. I am your God. I am God, your God. I will not find fault with your sacrifices because your whole burnt offerings are continually before me. I will not accept a young bull from your house, nor he goats from your flocks, for all the wild animals of the forest are mine. The cattle and the oxes in the hill, I know all the birds of heaven, and the ripe fruit of the field is with me. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine in all its fullness." And so he goes on, it goes on about that. And it's like when you say during the liturgy, your own, your own to your own,
Right.
because we give. It's like you're not giving. Your Christ gave his life was the sacrifice,
Right.
and but you're not giving God anything he doesn't have
Right.
because he already has it.
He gave us the bread. He gave us the wine. He gave us the leather. He gave us all those things. So it's it's also um, one of my professors. Some priests when they bless the food will say bless the food in the hands that prepared it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, whose hands actually prepared it? God's. They're all God's food. So we're asking God to bless His food for us and be thankful that we have it. But yes, maybe I cooked it, but it really is still God's in the first place.
Well, I can understand that, but all throughout the Old Testament, they purified they go prepared. You have to make these sacrifices. You have to make these sacrifices for your sin, for the whole community, the whole nation. And it's like,
It was
yet you're doing all the sacrifices. Y'all know you're still going to hell, right?
it was to prepare humanity for the perfect sacrifice.
Okay, now that makes more sense. It's in preparation. When perfect sacrifice comes in, all right, that will cover all that. Welcome to heaven.
So when Christ makes the sacrifice, like, oh, that's what all the sacrifice was preparing us for, is for this sacrifice, which is why we continue that sacrifice at the liturgy, which is why we call it the mystical supper and not the Last Supper, because it's still going on. We still do it.
But that's why he pulls out Adam and Eve,
Right.
because everyone from then, everyone ended up there. And but they, like you think about, so Elijah,
To say there's only three people that I can think of that might have been in heaven.
yeah,
Elijah, who took the chariot up there.
yeah.
Enoch, the seventh generation from Adam, who was found worthy to God and just got pulled up, just
Yeah.
plucked off the earth, and okay. And then the thief.
Yeah.
Today you will be with me in paradise.
And we don't know. There, you hear there are people who like disappear.
Right.
And you don't know, I mean, did they disappear because they die somewhere and nobody ever finds their body? Or maybe there are others, but those are the three documented.
Yeah. Those are the three that we would surmise would have been in heaven. And then when even John the Baptist had to die before Christ was crucified
because
because
he had to preach,
he
right?
had to go down into Hades and tell people, hey, get ready, he's coming, prepare.
You've
So
been waiting.
he preached down in Hades. So even John the Baptist went down to Hades. So,
Can I ask a question, Father?
mhm.
Excuse me. I would like to ask a question if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thinking about, excuse me, thinking about the sacrifices, since the Septuagint preserves the cosmic order, of course. And, I know that's difficult for people who are not Orthodox to know because it's been, wiped away with the Masoretic text and all that. But if you think about the sacrifices, isn't that really like, almost like mafia payments for the dark entities that have fallen? They want to keep the blood, they want to keep the murder and all that kind of stuff. And so Jesus came and went down and said, hey, straight, God, it's over. I'm giving my son. That's it. And now, am I thinking about this wrong or?
Well, I don't think it's wrong. So the reason God wanted animal sacrifice is, and he told them you cannot eat the blood because it is life, right? So Adam and Eve sin, they die. In order to get expiation for their sins, somebody's blood has to be uh, spilled because that's life. So the sacrifices were sort of the scapegoats for humanity. Instead of humans being killed, it was the animals that would be killed, which is why Jesus' blood had to be shed himself, is his life had to pour out. Which is why then the sacrifices that were so bloody, now we call what? The bloodless sacrifice. Um, so it's you know it, it's mafia payments, yeah, sort of thing. Um, it was God established the sacrifices to say this really should be happening to you for your sinfulness, but because I'm not done with humanity yet, we we're going to substitute you for this bull, this lamb, this other thing, until the time comes when I no longer need, well, he never needed the sacrifices. You no longer need those sacrifices. The sacrifice that we offer is going to be the bloodless sacrifice.
Well, I was just thinking that because we have this cosmic order, it does, we don't have what is it, the Book of Enoch, of course, in the Septuagint. But if you go back to Plato and all of this, then you see this idea that you've got these fallen ones, and they're so, in fact, the trickery, even in the Hebrew text, with the Septuagint, there's a gentleness which is, very, it goes all this way back to Plato, I guess, and, the ancients, the way things are spoken about, the sons of God and the sons of angels, instead of talking about the Elohim and all that. But if you, look at this in this other way, I'm thinking, even this idea of sacrifice, it looks like it's the blood desire of these dark entities, the fallen ones. But and that's why in my mind, I guess I just imagine Jesus went, down to hell and said, game's over, guys.
Oh yeah,
And
oh yeah.
Maybe
I
have
mean,
some fun when he first walks down there. Hey, I'm here. Hey, do your best. Here you go. That's like, yeah, you got a little too close, didn't you?
well,
no more.
yeah, he certainly conquered the devil and the demons. So, um, so yeah, I mean, and that's that is kind of what happened. I mean, the devil is described in the scriptures as the prince of this world, except his kingdom has been taken away now. Worldly, and that's why Christ talks about not being worldly, because that means you're focusing on demonic things and not on heavenly things. Um, but the devil has no power over us now because of Christ. So yeah, I mean, all those sorts of things are kind of all along the same lines. Um, and of course, we're talking about things we can see. we're talking about some things that we can't see have been revealed to us, but there's a lot of it that we don't know also. So, so yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I think we were on verse 11. Now then, neither will I restrain my mouth. I will speak by necessity because I will disclose the bitterness of my soul when I am oppressed. And one of the fathers says that's how we should be in confession. Speak your soul, talk about everything, uh, present it all. Am I a sea or a serpent that you set a guard over me? I said, my bed will comfort me, and on my couch I will counsel privately with myself. You scare me with dreams and terrify me with visions. You will separate life from my spirit, yet keep my bones from death. For I will not live forever, that I should patiently endure. Let me alone, for my life is vain. The sea has limits, but God's punishment does not. For Job, um, the bed the fathers talk about is like the heart, where we go to kind of talk to God about where our soul is, our nous, our all that. Um, and basically, what he's saying there, sort of, since we are mortal, why don't you just allow me to die? Kind of like Saint Simeon, right? I mean, poor guy, hundreds of years, and we all know how, as we get older, how things go. So, when you're hundreds of years older and now it's time, yes, now let me go.
Hey, how old is Job?
We're not really told. We're not really told. But he's saying since humans are gonna die, it'll be okay for me now.
In your soul battle, in your so like your brain is like your human whatever being.
Mhm.
Because without your brain, you're dead.
Right.
So your soul, does your soul battle with your human nature? Or is the soul so entwined with your humanness that it can't? I never understand the Saint John of the Ladder and the news and all. I get very confused in that.
That's where I think they're talking about the nous is where the soul and the body unite and connect. Um, so yes, as the spirit leaves the body, you die as well. You need two things: you need a brain and you need
You need the spirit.
a
Yeah.
spirit. And the nous is kind of the connection of the two.
But can your soul fight against your human? Because when like in Hades, that was their souls
Mhm.
that were there. They
Right.
didn't have their body.
Correct. So I think what happens more so is the internal conflict that Paul describes, where I do the things that I don't want to do, and and that's the soul kind of saying, "No, this is not good for you," and your body's going, "Yes, but I like it," and that's that internal issue, and that the nous is what kind of is,
And then your free will is part of your humanness that says,
yeah,
what are you going to do?
right,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it's a complex thing. It's a complex thing.
What next? Chime in? You've been silent.
And then this great line, what is man that you should exalt him, or that you should set your heart on him, or that you should visit him every morning and judge him till the time of rest? Basically, he's identifying that man is the pinnacle of creation. Is saying, but we're still nothing. He kind of understands his place. How long will you neither let me alone nor let me go until I swallow my saliva in grief? If I have sinned, what can I do to you, O you who understand the heart of men? Why have you set me as your accuser? Why am I burdened to you? Um, that part of being, God's accuser, Job is kind of telling God, you know my virtue, but this makes it look like you are an unjust God by punishing me unjustly, right? Saying, you know that I didn't sin. These people are saying that I must have sinned, but I didn't, so making you look bad, sort of thing. So why are you putting me through this sort of thing? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Why then have you not forgotten my lawlessness and purged my sin? But now I will depart into the earth, and in the morning I will no longer be here. Um, any questions on that? So, chapter 8. Then the next guy comes in. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, how long will you speak these things, and the breath of your mouth be filled with words? Will the Lord do wrong when he judges, or will he who made all things trouble righteousness? And so Bildad, in turn, thinks that Job is speaking unjustly, that somehow, again, he must have done something wrong to incur the wrath of God. Will the Lord do wrong when he judges, or will he who made all things trouble righteousness? If your sons sinned against him, he sent them away because of their lawlessness. Um, so he's saying if you really are, as you say, just, then it must have been your sons that did something wrong, and you're paying for that. So he's kind of trying to work out, what must have happened here. But come early in the morning and make your supplication to the Lord Almighty. If you are pure and true, he will hear your supplication. And again, we just discussed that that's not true. He doesn't need ours. And restore you to the dwelling of your righteous. Though your beginning shall be small, your latter end will be abundantly great. For inquire about the former generation and search among the race of our fathers. For we are of yesterday and know nothing, because our life on earth is shadow. And so Bildad is really focusing again on worldly things. He's saying if you just offer sacrifices and ask for forgiveness, God will restore everything that you had. Instead of worrying about heavenly things, and he cites the past as evidence of his words.
So tit for tat.
Right.
Yeah.
Will they not teach you and proclaim to you and bring forth words from their heart? Can the papyrus bloom without water, or the reed flourish without moisture? While it is still on the root and not yet harvested, does not any vegetation wither before it receives moisture? So shall the end of all who forget the Lord, for the hope of the ungodly shall perish. And so that sort of is describing that we build a foundation on our ancestors, and all that we do is watered by God. So for his house shall be without inhabitants, and his tent shall turn out to be a spider's web. If he props up his house, it will not stand, and when he takes hold of it, it will not endure. For it is moist under the sun, and his branch shall come forth out of his rottenness. He shall lie down upon a pile of rocks, and shall live in the midst of flints. If he's, the worldly or the ungodly are like lifeless rocks, not rocks that have life in them, but just dead rocks. If he has swallowed up, his place shall deny him. You have not seen such things. That such is the destruction of the ungodly, and out of the earth another will grow up again. For the Lord will not cast off an innocent, nor will he accept any gift of an ungodly man. He will fill the mouth of the true with laughter, and their lips with thanksgiving. But their enemies will be clothed with shame, and the dwelling of an ungodly man will be no more. The righteous rejoice, but the wicked perish. So, questions on that? So Bildad is again just reiterating the same thing that the previous friend was reiterating, that you must have done something wrong. Just ask for forgiveness, and everything will be turned right again. Chapter 9, then Job answered and said, I know that is true, but how can a mortal man be righteous before the Lord? If he should wish to enter into judgment with him, the Lord would not listen to him, for he could not answer to one out of 1,000 of his charges. Job's question asserts that what happens to us is not based on our righteousness, since no one is righteous before the Lord. He's saying he's trying to kind of contradict what Bildad and Eliphaz previously was saying, is if somehow God blessed me because He's found me so righteous, but no one's righteous before God, so it can't be. It can't work that way. And so the opposite is true as well. It can't be because of my sinfulness that things misfortune came to me, right? So, if I can't earn something by my righteousness, how can I lose something by my sinfulness? So, but Job is speaking a little wiser here than Bildad. He is wise in mind and mighty and great, who has hardened himself against him and endured. Um, yeah, God does great things because He is great. Um, so He's saying He's mighty and great, not so we can do great things and not be great, right? God is great, therefore He does great things. He who makes the mountains old and men who do not know it, he who overturns them in his wrath, he who shakes the earth under heaven from its foundation and its pillars tremble, he who commands the sun and it does not rise, who seals off the stars, he who alone stretches out heaven, he who walks on the sea as if on firm ground, he who makes Pleiades, Hesperus, and Arcturus, I'm not sure what those are, and the chambers of the south. He who does great and unsearchable things, glorious and marvelous things without number. And it's kind of reminds me of the prayers of baptism, where it talks about all the things that God did in creation. And then the priest says, glorious, great is your name, mighty are your works, and things like that. If he goes beyond me, I do not see him. If he passes by me, I do not perceive him. If he takes away, who can turn him back? Who can say to him, what have you done? For if he turns away his wrath, the great sea creatures under heaven lie prostrate beneath him. Uh, so he's talking about all the wonderful things that God does. Would then that he would hear me or judge my words, for though I be righteous, he will not listen to me. So he does identify that his own righteousness here, but he's saying that that doesn't make God somehow impressed with him. Uh, if I should call and he hears me, I would not believe he is listening to me. Let him not destroy me with darkness, but he has caused my great destruction to no purpose. Basically, here, what he's saying is God's words are judgment to us, so all we can do is plead for mercy. Uh, so, let's see. Let him not destroy me with darkness, but he has caused my great destruction to no purpose, for he will not allow me to draw breath, but has filled me with bitterness. For if he is strong in power, who then can resist his judgment? For though I were righteous, my mouth will be impious, and though I were blameless, I will be perverse. He's saying here, Job, if I am just in my actions, my words will be prideful, and vice versa. Okay, if I say, Lord, I'm such a righteous person, why did you do this to me? Now I'm prideful, right? And the other way around. If I am ungodly, I do not know it in my soul, but my life is taken away. Therefore I said, wrath destroys the great and the mighty. The wrongdoers die violently, but the righteous are laughed to scorn. For they are delivered into the hands of the ungodly man. He covers the faces of the judges of the earth. It is, if it is not he, who else could it be? Now my life passes swifter than a runner. My days have fled away, and they do not see it. Do the ships leave a mark of their path? I kind of like that idea. Or does a flying eagle leave a trace of its soaring as it seeks its prey? If I say, I will forget to speak, I will bow down my face and groan. I shake with fear in all my limbs. I know you will not leave me as innocent, but since I am ungodly, why have I not died? If I should wash myself with snow and cleanse myself with pure hands, you have fully immersed me in filth, and my garments detest me. And so it kind of talks about, the garment, the wedding garment that we talk about with the prayer for communion is the soul. He's saying, even if I am purified, everything else is filthy, so I'm still dirty. You are not a man as I am, with whom I could contend, that we should go to judgment together. Would that we have had a mediator who would cross-examine and hear the case between us. Let him remove the rod from me, and do not let the fear of him distress me. Then I will not be afraid, but will speak, for I am not conscious of any guilt. And who is the mediator for us?
Jesus.
Christ, exactly. He's the mediator. Job is doing some soul searching there. Um, but ultimately for us, obviously, the mediator is Jesus. So moving on to 10. Since I am weary and groaning in my soul, I will let loose my words to him because I am distressed. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. We can come to God in our distress. When we're in distress, we should bring that to him. I will say to the Lord, do not teach me to be ungodly. Why have you thus judged me? It is good before you if I do wrong. Is it good before you if I do wrong? And that you renounce the work of your hands and give heed to the counsel of the ungodly. Job fears his misfortune will cause him to sin, saying, up to this time I've been sinless, but now with all this, I'm afraid I'm going to fall into sin. Do you see it as the mortal sees? Do you see as a man sees? Is your life human life? Are your years like the years of a man, that you examined my lawlessness and searched out my sins? You know I have not acted impiously, but who is he who can deliver from your hands? And so he here calls God as sort of the witness in the trial to his friends. He's saying to God, you know I'm righteous, so you tell that to them. Your hands fashioned and made me, then you changed your mind and struck me. Remember that you fashioned me as clay, but you are turning me back to the earth again. Did you not squeeze me out like milk and curdle me like cheese? You clothed me with skin and flesh and knit me together with bones and sinews. You granted me life and mercy, and your visitation has guarded my spirit. Reminds me of the play there of on Holy Thursday night in particular, where Jesus in the chanting says, I'm going to smash them like the potter's clay. Um, you know. Since you have these things in yourself, I know you are able to do all things, for nothing is impossible for you. For if I sin, you watch me, and because of my lawlessness, you will not consider me innocent. For if I am ungodly, woe to me, and if I am righteous, I cannot lift up my head, for I am full of dishonor. I am trapped like a lion for slaughter, and again you have changed, and you are destroying me. You renewed my affliction upon me, and dealt with me in great wrath, for you brought severe ordeals upon me. Uh, so here's part of where Job isn't killed. Had he died, his friends would have thought that because he would not have been justified in the end, as he's going to be. His friends would have thought, well, he really was a sinner. He must have lost all this stuff and died because he really was a sinner. So even though Job wants to die, God spares him because the only way to prove that he was afflicted was not because of his sinfulness, is to allow him to live and be justified in the end. So, why then did you bring me out of the womb? Why did I not die and no eye see me? Why have I become as though I had not been? For why was I not carried from the womb to the grave? Is not the time of my life short? Allow me to rest a little before I go to the place from which I shall not return, to an obscure and dark land, to a land of eternal darkness where there is no light, neither can anyone see the life of mortals. He has to be an example of long suffering and strength. And so he's allowed to persist, but he does there again allude to Hades when he knows that when he dies, he is going to go to a dark place. There is going to be darkness there. It's not where the light is, where Christ is, all those sorts of things. So,
So this with verses 10 through 22 refers to the writings of Hezekiah. And in it he says that indeed Job knew he would be redeemed. And says, therefore the Lord says, walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. And those remarks are from Saint Gregory.
Mm,
Because isn't this description is what death was like before Christ came,
right.
that you were without the light.
Right. And is still that way for those who reject the light. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So even then, like to Michael's questions, even then, when there was no current alternative for them,
mhm,
but even for us, we won't know if we're saved or not until the judgment day.
right.
And so you won't know it's not like Job is all knowing. But how do they say that Job knew he would be indeed Job knew he would be redeemed?
I think they're referencing
Is that later in that?
later in the book. Yeah. So chapter 19, verse 25 says, "For I know he is everlasting, he who is about to set me free on the earth." So that, we will come across that when we get to chapter 19. So,
So the value of man knowing that when you die, this is what happens to you. But there were other readings and other things that came before this to say, well, there might be something else. That there's going to be something else. There's going to be a Messiah. There's going to be
yeah,
a Savior. Um, and so that was where their hope was,
right,
really.
right. Their hope was in
Because
the
we say we hope in the resurrection, but they didn't know how that was going to look.
correct. Yeah, they knew the Messiah was going to bring about something that was better than what they currently had. They didn't know what that was. And so yes, the resurrection is that thing. Job here is identifying that, when he dies, he's not, discrediting that the Messiah could come, but he knows in the meantime,
He knows what that will look like.
yes. Yeah, in the meantime, it's not going to be which is why, especially when we were reading the history of the Old Testament, it was so important for them to go to their rest. Because if you're if you're in a cold, dark place, but you're asleep, you don't really know about it
Mm-hmm.
until you wake up. Mm-hmm. So you go to your rest, and which is what we call going to sleep. We go to sleep, we fall asleep, and we want to rest, which would be a blessed thing to rest until the final judgment, and it just instantaneously transports us there. So, um, yeah. Okay, on to 11. And now, Zophar, the third of his friends, piles on to Job. Then Zophar the Naamathite answered and said, "He who speaks much should also listen in turn. Or does the fluent speaker think himself to be righteous? Blessed is the short-lived offspring of a woman." So he's telling Job he shouldn't be speaking so much, and he's going to do so by speaking a whole lot.
They're going to make this book short.
Right.
I'm going to tell you in a long time how I'm going to get to make it short.
Right.
Stop talking, listen now.
Yes.
It's my turn.
And Zophar goes against his own advice. Do not be wordy in your speech, for there is no one to reply to you. Do not say, "I am pure in my works and blameless before him." But how does the Lord speak to you? He will open his lips against you. Then he will declare to you the power of his wisdom, for it shall be double in your case. At that time, you will know a worthy recompense has come to you from the Lord because of your sins. And so, uh, although Job is righteous, Zophar doesn't recognize this, and he's similarly saying, You must have done something wrong. If you're going to ask God to be your witness, all he's going to do is punish you and smite you. You know, he uses he's going to show you his wisdom and doubly in that. The wisdom and greatness of God are much higher than Job's or Zophar's. Um, but Zophar thinks he knows everything. Will you find the traces of the Lord? Have you reached to the outer extremities of what the Almighty has made? Heaven is high, and what will you do? And what do you know? For there are even deeper things in Hades. Do you know those dimensions that are broad, longer than the earth and broader than the sea? If he should overthrow everything, who then will say to him, "What have you done?" For he knows the works of the lawless, and when he sees wrongs, he shall not overlook them. But man vainly swims in words. An immortal born of a woman is equal to a donkey in the desert. And so, he is saying true things here that God is greater than us and knows more than us, and we have limitations to what we know. And then, but man vainly swims in words, and a mere mortal is a woman is equal to a donkey in the desert. And so he's as he is braying himself here. We too bray when we criticize and blame and all these other things. Um, if you have made your heart pure and stretch out your hands toward him, if something lawless is done by your hands, put it far away from you. And do not let any wrongdoing lodge in your dwelling. Zophar speaks of repentance. We can have a pure heart. Um, we cannot have a pure heart if we have unjust deeds. So if we do unjust deeds, it's because our heart is not pure. It might be possible to have good deeds with an impure heart, but you can't have it the other way around. For in this way your face will shine like forth like pure water, for you will not cleanse away the filth, you will not fear. Then you will forget this hardship like a wave that has passed away, and you will not be terrified. I'm not sure that even after Job is restored, that he forgets about what happened previously, as Zophar here suggests.
Some lessons you just don't forget.
Yeah,
It's like
Yeah, that'd be a
it's
tough
10
one.
kids, all this flock, all this other, plus these boils, plus this, plus, and then 3 friends who wanted to take it on. Like,
that
I'm going to forget that.
will be a hard thing to forget. Your prayer will be like the morning star at midday. Life will rise to you. You will be confident because you have hope, and peace shall bring light to you out of anxiety and care. You will also be at rest, and there will be no one to fight against you. Many will change their mind about you and supplicate you, but salvation will forsake them, for their hope will be lost, and the eyes of ungodly will melt away. Um, so the Zophar continues to express that Job's misfortunes are because of his sinfulness. And he's saying if you repent, if you do all the things you need to do, admit that you did something wrong, not only will you forget what happened to you, but everybody else will start looking at you better again now. So, which says to Job, gosh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Glad you stopped by.
Yeah. So,
So why did they? I mean, it's so orthodox. You have three friends that show up to
yes,
annoy you.
of course,
Um,
has to be three.
and it always had to be three.
So, okay, we're going to pause there for tonight. Um, we are not meeting next week. Well, we are meeting next week, just not in Bible study.
Yeah.
It'll be Christmas Eve next week. So everybody join us for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day services next week. We will not be meeting the next week either, since that is New Year's Eve. Some of us may be meeting. Don't have the party at the church, but whatever else. We will likely return to Bible study on January 7th. So in the new year, so a couple of weeks off. For those who didn't join us last week, you can do both. Read chapters 1 through 5 yourselves, or you can go online and watch last week's Bible study that I posted earlier today. So we will try and get through the book of Job. It's 42 chapters. Try and get through it before we get to Lent when we have the pre-sanctifieds. But we should be able to do that as we go through a lot of this. Much of this is going to be similar back and forth banter until we get to when the Lord gets his turn to speak.
Yes,
And it's a smackdown on Job in other ways.
he got his point across.
So thank you all for joining us online. Have a hopefully warm and Merry Christmas. We will, and hopefully we'll see you all one way or the other.